So when I went to college, I didn't have a savings plan. There was no money set aside for me to get my college education. So I had to wing it. And fortunately, I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in elementary education and a master's degree in school guidance counseling. But unfortunately, I graduated with thousands of dollars in student loan debt. And so, what if we as parents could position ourselves to be financially where we want to be and hopefully help our scholars to have some money set aside so that when they are ready to go to college, they're not only relying on the FAFSA. And so that's why I am connecting with Holly Reid Tootle today as we jump in about college savings plans and what we as parents can do to help position our scholars to earn a debt-free degree. And so Holly is an accomplished author, speaker, and financial education instructor who is deeply committed to empowering people with responsible financial management skills and tools. She is the visionary behind the Master Playbook, which is a financial education and wellness company that has positively impacted thousands of families through various initiatives like her book, Teach Your Child to Fish, 5 Money Habits Every Child Should Master, money camps for kids and teens, and she also provides tailored workshops for organizations serving parents and college students. Holly's approach is rooted in sound financial principles. Like she's really giving us practical advice and her own life experiences. So, welcome to the Scholar Budget Podcast. Grab your notebook, grab your pen, let's take notes, and most importantly, let's take You're listening to the Scholar Budget Podcast, where we teach you how to earn a debt-free degree, grow your money, and claim every opportunity with your name on it. I'm your host, Raquel Bartoli. Let's jump right in. Hello, Holly. Welcome. How are you doing today, friend?
Hello there. Thank you for having me today. I am doing well.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to speak with you. I know that this episode is more like for our parents, but I'm hoping that our scholars will listen as well because this might be applicable to them when they become young adults and they have kids. So, Holly, can you start by telling us more about what you do and how you help individuals with their specific financial journey?
Yes, absolutely. I am the CEO of a company called the Master Playbook, and we help kids unleash their money genius. So, our mission is all about equipping the next generation to master money, but
Right?
we also equip your parents. So, if your scholars are listening, I am happy that they would be because you want to get your parents involved. It's so important to have these conversations early and often, and so we want to make sure that your parents know the things that they can do to give their kids the financial head start that they deserve. And so we primarily do this through, I host future millionaire money camps for kids and teens throughout the year. I partner with parents, schools, and other organizations to really help make teaching money habits simple, fun, and really easy.
Love the words simple and fun. And I think most students or scholars, when they hear simple and they hear fun, it's like, yes, this is something that I can do. And the truth is, at least in my opinion, money and the conversation around money can be very complicated and overwhelming because there's
Yeah.
so much to learn. So when we have someone like you that can bring that to us in a fun way and very simple, it's more tangible and people are more open to listen. So I can't wait to hear more as we get into this interview. And so I know that you're a financial coach. So why would someone even need a financial coach?
Yeah, so I see this all the time, Raquel. If you want to lose weight, who do you hire?
You need to hire a coach, someone who's
Right,
going
a fitness
to
coach, right?
without.
So a lot of parents with if their kids play baseball, the parent will hire a batting coach. Or if your student is falling behind their reading level or their math level, parents will hire a tutor or either place them in programs like Kumon or Sylvan Learning, right? So it's the same thing. When you want to see your kids reach higher levels, when you want to see your kids really become good with money, you seek out the person with the right expertise. And so that's where I come in. So when it comes to teaching your child or your teenager money management, listen, this is a skill that they will use for the rest of their life. So the sooner they understand it and start practicing it, like the more confident they will be when it comes time to make financial decisions on their own or independently. And see, with financial coaching, we're really planting the seeds so that we are planting those future millionaires. We're planting those people who are going to save and invest and really weigh their choices and spend their money more smartly when it comes to making big or small financial decisions, right? So
Right.
that's where financial coaching kind of fits in.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
is the youngest age? What at what point do you like? How young is too young when it comes to like hiring a financial coach?
Yeah, so our camp start at age 10, right? So we go from 10 and up. And as parents, you can absolutely start younger. So as soon as your kids start asking you for things, as soon as your kids want you to buy things for them,
Like
you
yes.
can start those money conversations, right? But with the Master Playbook, we start at age 10, but we do workshops for all ages.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, how do you help or coach parents specifically who want to help their scholars go to college and minimize their need for any kind of debt, student loan
Yeah.
debt with their college bound student?
Yeah, so we offer parents a playbook, a blueprint of sorts, right? So, based on the data, based off of the thousands of families that I've interacted with, a lot of the common barriers from being proactive about helping your kids prepare for college is that parents themselves are often burdened with their own student loan debt, right? They have personal debt where they may have overextended themselves with a mortgage, a car loan, credit cards, right? It's depending on what time of year it is, we can rack up a whole lot of debt. And so, with when you couple parents having their own debt, and then there's a lack of information that's readily available to help guide parents on the exact steps they should be taking to kind of give their kids this head start, to give them this runway, that's where we fill the gap. So, the Master Playbook, we help and we coach parents who want to make sure that they're giving their kids a financial head start. We
Right.
want to help parents who want to minimize taking on student loan debts for their kids. And
Absolutely.
so we do that in a variety of ways, but it's primarily through our webinars and workshops where we help them and give them kind of a blueprint or the playbook.
Awesome. And so I know that there's, multiple ways that parents can help their scholars, get ready to pay for college. One of those being scholarships, right? That's what the scholar budget is all about. And
Yes.
accountability, right? That's how I show up as a scholarship coach. It's really accountability and giving the parents and the students the tools that they need to win these scholarships. So when it comes to, financial coaching and when you're sitting with that parent, what is maybe like one or two things specifically that you would share with a parent when they're like, okay, my kids are young, or maybe I don't have a lot of time left. What can I start doing right now to help them, save something or have something for college?
Yep. So parents, that they would need to be really clear on what they can do, right?
Mhm.
And so when you're clear on how much you can contribute, if you can contribute at all, right? If you're clear on I can't contribute anything, so you need to start putting some things in place.
Right.
Scholarships, of course, that's where you come in and can really help and guide them. That's a big thing because there's just so much money out there. But then if you want to take things into your own hands, that's where other platforms like 529 plans, like custodial Roth IRAs, other custodial accounts that you as the adult, you as the parent, can open up for your child to start planning well in advance. And one of the things that I hear from parents all the time is they're like, well, I still need to save for my retirement. So, what should I put first? How
Right.
should I prioritize everything? And it's a great question and an awesome concern because, first, what do they tell us when we get on an airplane? You have to put your oxygen mask on first
Mhm.
before you can help someone else.
Absolutely.
So if you are in a position where you are behind in your retirement savings, you got to focus on that first. And so
Right.
that changes your strategy on how then you might be able to support your child. But things like a 529 college savings plan is something that's really affordable. It's something that you can make small incremental deposits and rally your community of friends and family, church members, to really contribute to that plan as well, so that you can ultimately reach your goal of obviously trying to avoid taking on a whole lot of student debt.
Right. And I'm glad that you really touched on the fact that we can't help our scholars until we kind of help ourselves and get ourselves in that space where we know, like, when we're old, right, and we can't work, we know we have some money coming in.
Yeah,
And my dear friend Peter, who was on the podcast as well, he mentioned that you can take out student loans, but you can't take out a retirement loan, and that's
that's right.
so true. But for those parents that are like, okay, I'm getting to that point where I can put something aside in a 529 plan. Can you share, like, what are the benefits of having a 529 plan for a parent who's heard of it and they're
Yeah.
maybe like, I could, but I'm not sure. What would you say to that?
Yeah, the biggest thing is that it's the tax advantages. So a 529 plan, you invest after tax dollars. So you
Okay.
get paid, you take whatever your contribution is going to be, you fund a 529 plan. And so with the 529 plan, the money that you invest, it's going to grow tax free. And what that means is that you won't owe federal income tax on any of the gains that investment makes,
Okay.
right? So the great thing is they have different, and they've really expanded what you can invest in a 529 plan, but you won't owe any federal income taxes. And then as long as you use that money for qualified educational expenses, you can make the tax free withdrawals. So it grows tax free, and when you pull the money out to use it for educational expenses, you won't have to pay tax on those withdrawals. So that's like the biggest advantage of a 529 plan, and
Right.
why it's so popular when you start thinking about how are we going to pay for college? What can we do? Right. The other thing is that different states offer additional tax incentives, right? So depending on what state you look in, and unfortunately, I'm not familiar with all of them because just about every state offers a 529 plan, but they'll offer deductions or credits that will also help your be beneficial to your state
Okay.
income taxes. The other benefit of uh, of having a 529 plan is it gives you that peace of mind, right? Like I feel like as a parent, we always think about, oh, um, I should do this for my child,
Right.
or you hear different opportunities, and you're like, I'm gonna do it, but then think we have so much on our plate, or we procrastinate to the
Yes.
very end. But if you just take the action to open the account, to start small, I'm talking like $10 a week,
Mhm.
$10 a month, $50 a month.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a ton of money at one time, but just start actively saving for your child. A benefit of just having a peace of mind that you are doing something
Yeah.
can reduce and relieve and take off a lot of financial stress when it's time for your child to go to college or pursue, a vocational education. So it can just relieve us of a lot of stress to know that we're doing something.
Right. And that is true because I haven't always had a 529 plan for my scholars. But when I was able to for my own two kids, it really did become a sense of peace that even though I know they won't have like a full, amount of money for their college or vocational dreams, that there's something there.
There
And I'm
is
thinking about
something.
it, right? Like as a first
Yes.
student, that wasn't done for me because my parents weren't able to. So it just feels like, I'm making progress, right? And the hope is that when my kids have kids, they're able to do it after that baby like pops out the oven.
Yeah.
Yes, it does help. But I want to go back to something really quick just to clarify. When you say educational expenses, so when my daughter goes to school, I got to do her hair before the first day of school. Is that an educational expense?
That is not an educational expense. So it's going to be those expenses tied around them earning the degree or completing the program, right? So it's going to be tuition. It could be room and board,
Okay,
right? It could be certain transportation costs, like to and from
right.
school. It could be equipment.
Okay.
So the only way the hair is gonna get in there is if your child is studying to be a beautician or a hairdresser. They might have to buy certain equipment, right? Yes, yeah.
And just going back, so this is not just for college expenses, but if your scholar is going to vocational school, it covers vocational tech pathways as well, right?
Yeah, so this is one of the great things, and one of the things a lot of people don't realize about 529, because it's 529 college savings plans. People
Mhm.
think it's only for college,
Right.
but it can be useful at vocational schools and even some K through 12 schools.
Oh wow.
So I've seen parents use it to help with private school tuition for their kids. So it's not just limited to college. And that's one of the beautiful things that as the 529 plan has become more popular, they've expanded and even broadened what it can be used for.
Wow, so many awesome benefits. And so can you take us through a real life picture of what it would look like? So let's say my kids graduate from high school, we've chosen their college, etc. How does the withdrawal and distribution part work? Like, do I log into an account? Do I go to a bank and withdraw the money? Like, how does that part work?
Yep, it's pretty straightforward. Many of the plans allow for an easy, like online account management. So you can log in and initiate any withdrawals or distributions. But getting the money, like it's your money. So getting the money is a straightforward process. So first, you want to make sure that whatever you're withdrawing it for falls under those qualified expenses under the plan that you've chosen,
Right.
right? And then you want to make sure, if some plans may require you to submit proof
Okay.
for it or an invoice or something. And
Completely.
so you just need to know what your plan requires. But
Okay.
you just reach out to the plan administrator. So again, that could be via website. I'm sure a lot of them have customer service areas. You can request a withdrawal, and then you fill out a form, or you tell them what it's for. You give them the beneficiary information, and then you just choose the method. How do you want to withdraw? Do you want a check to come to you? Do you want a check to be sent to a specific account? Do you want the money to go directly to the financial institution,
Okay.
the educational institution? So they have options, and then it's as simple as that. And then of course, processing times are very similar to what you would expect with your bank. Like when you make electronic transfers and things to banks, it could take a couple of business days. But then it should be that simple, right? It should be that easy.
Awesome. So the key things I'm hearing is, just double check and make sure if there's any kind of does this qualify or not, that's probably an indicator that you should probably just give them a call and make
Yep.
sure that it's correct. And keep your receipts, because I can imagine that not all programs are the same. And while one might say, show me what you're paying for now, another might come 2 years down the line and say, hey, you spent this amount in 2020. What was that
Right.
for? So I'm taking
Right.
make sure I keep my receipts.
Yep.
Awesome. And so, what would you say are some common misconceptions or misunderstandings that people often have about the 529 plans?
um well, the biggest one, of course, is obvious. We just covered it. Like,
Okay.
people think that it's just for college, when we
Right.
know Now you can use it for K through 12 education. Some people think that, if that it's going to negatively impact them being eligible for financial aid, and that's not always the case,
Okay.
right? So it has a small impact on the aid calculation, but it doesn't mean you won't be eligible for any aid. So a lot of people are scared to open one thinking that it's going to impact that. I'm trying to think of some others that I've heard.
The
Oh, some
is a big one. Can you just kind of touch on that again, like that not saving because of fear of not getting from another, from FAFSA? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned FAFSA. Okay, so FAFSA is I assume your students and parents are familiar with it, but it's the
Yeah.
free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, right? You should fill it out every year that your child is going to be in school, and they have a calculation. And so a lot of times they try to calculate what's going to be the family contribution in order to determine how much aid or money you could be eligible for. And
Okay.
so they look at the parent, and they look at the parent assets, and they look at the student assets. Well, with 529 plans, that usually falls under the parent assets. And that's great because with the parent assets, it only represents like, I think the exact percentage is like 5.64% of the aid, right? So that means for every say $10,000 of financial aid, then they'll say $564 of it should be supplied by the parent. So that's a very small percentage, right? Compared to student assets, if students have a lot of assets in their name, savings account stacked full of money, theirs is going to be counted as 20%. So again, for every $10,000, they're going to say 2,000 of it can be covered by the student, right? So if you got a bunch of money in your child's name, stacked in a savings account or in a checking account somewhere, then that's going to really impact that calculation. So for parents, it's much smaller. And I love that because it sends that signal that while our kids are our dependents, while we are responsible for taking care of them, when it comes to higher education, when it comes to them earning a college degree, they take a little less pressure off the parents
Right.
and really put it on the student. That's why it's not just important to look at 529 plans. It needs to be a combination of things. It
Right.
needs to be the 529 plan. It needs to be the scholarships and grants. It
Yeah.
needs to be, other investments that you can tap into to kind of help with paying for college.
Yeah, I like to call it the stacking method. So it's like, how
Yeah,
many different things can we stack to ultimately get you to that debt free degree and not put all your eggs in one basket?
that's right.
Because nothing's worse than filling out the FAFSA and then realizing you're not going to be 100% funded and then trying to figure out how to get that money versus, knowing I'm going to do these 5 things, put all that money
Yep.
together and move forward. And
Yep.
so that's a good nugget. And so Holly, like for those parents who feel like they're too late, when is a parent when is it too late for a parent to start investing in a plan like this? At what point do you say, okay, I missed the opportunity. Now let me circle back around to the scholarships and everything else that I can continue to do?
Yeah, I would say it's too late. First of all, it's never too late, but it could potentially be too late if your child is like their junior and senior year in college and they don't plan to continue their education to like a master's degree or law school or something like that. Then
Oh,
it could be too late. If your child is just getting their undergraduate degree, they're in their junior and senior year in college, then it's likely too late.
right,
Like all things, we want you to start sooner. It just eases the load, it lifts that weight and that pressure. But even if you have a child that's in high school, think about it. You have the 4 years of high school, they still have 4 years of college.
right.
So you can still start making those contributions and open that account And then, like I said, we want to rally our friends and family instead of, them getting the latest video game. You can start asking your family, hey, can you make a contribution? Can you give that 20, 50, $60 in lieu of that game? And let's invest it in their 529 plan. Here, I'll send you the link. It could be easy breezy for your family members to help contribute with their future educational costs. And I just think that's something our community would value. Of course, you don't want, everything to be so solely focused, right? But it's an option. And I think it's a worthy option.
Listen, baby, they bad. They just want you to go to college. And the truth is, I think your kids would probably get even more when when a grandparent or uncle or someone knows that this money is going to college instead of the
Mm,
$60 for a game. They're like, you know what? Let me just push the 200 because it's going towards their future. So
that's
thank you
right.
for that reminder. Note to self: contact grandparents. Yeah, okay, I'm
Grandparents, aunts, uncles.
sure about it. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, absolutely.
The kids don't see any gifts, it could be like, but that is a good nugget, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I had another great question while you were talking. And what was it? Um, oh my goodness. Okay, hopefully it'll come back to me. Man, Holly, it was so good. Um, no, okay. I guess I'm gonna have to email you after this and ask you. So good. My heart
Not a problem.
but it's all good. Anyway, so you have shared a ton of great information. A financial coach is needed, especially when we're trying to get our finances in order and we're trying to figure out everything. So I'm so lucky that my community can connect with you. So parents, scholars, if you're wanting to improve in your financial situation, you want to understand how to really put a game plan together to help your scholars earn a debt-free degree, then I highly encourage you to connect with my amazing friend Holly. And Holly, before we close out, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners about the 5-2 plan or any other college saving tips that parents and students can start to take advantage of starting like now?
Yes. So one of the biggest mistakes I see parents make is, they aren't talking and having these money conversations with their college bound kids until it's too late. So
Right.
just opening the door to have those talks and conversations. And that's something that I can absolutely help the parents in your listeners do, right? So they need to really think about and start setting some clear goals and expectations. Like you said, using that stacking method, think through what are all the options? What are all the options so that you're not caught at the financial aid office when your child is registering their sophomore year, right? Because you did a fantastic job that freshman year, but then the sophomore year rolls around and you're like, okay, where's this money coming from? We
Right.
don't want to see you in those situations. So just being on top of it. And so I'm so glad that we're actually having this conversation today because there are resources. One resource that I would recommend everyone do is go to their state specific 529 plan. If you just Google 529 plan for and then enter the state that you reside in, look at those resources that's provided by that program.
Right.
If you know that your child wants to attend a specific college or university, then often those institutions will actually have information on how they consider 529 plans in their financial aid packages.
Okay.
So you just want to reach out, open the lines of communication, be well versed on what's available out there.
And that's so good. It did trigger my memory now for the question that I wanted to ask you. And that is, can you increase the amount of money that you're having deducted into your child's 529? So let's say, we have some parents that are hopefully going to take this and, they got their retirement and other stuff in order, right? We got to take care of
Yes.
that first. And they're like, okay, we have this extra money, we're going to start setting it aside. Let's say in 2024, they're just putting $100 a month into their child's account. Can the following year, can they increase that over time? Can they decrease it if they need to? How does that work?
Yes, they absolutely can. So they can increase it and decrease it based off of their ability to invest,
Oh,
right? There are some plans that make that that make it automatic withdrawal. So you just go through the program administrators, website or their process in order to change those contributions. And then another question, because you asking that also made me think of something else that I get questions about. So people who have multiple kids, they're like, oh, so does this mean I have to open up an account for every child in my family? And no, you don't necessarily, depending on how old they are. So I'll use my family as an example. I'm the youngest of four girls. So
Okay.
I have three sisters that were older than me. What my parents could have done, they could have opened up an account, named my oldest sister as the beneficiary, right? And so any money they put in, it's going to go to her account. And then say she's done, but there's still money left in that account. They can change the name on that beneficiary and just keep going down the line. Now, because we were like stair step, there ended up being three of us in college at the same time. Now, if that's the case, then you may need to open up more than one account so that each child can be a beneficiary if you're planning to use it during that same period of time, like needing to pull money out during, that window where all three of them are in at the same time, then you may need multiple accounts, but some families won't need it. So say you have a 5-year difference between your first and second child, you probably can just change the beneficiary on that same one account to the youngest child's name once the oldest is done with their educational expenses. So, okay.
The less the need to have multiple accounts,
Right.
So that's cool. That's a great advantage to this. Again, if you have them spaced out.
Yep.
So Holly, it's been so refreshing to speak to you because I learned much more about my own plan that I already have for my own kids, and I'm gonna go reach out to all the aunties, uncles, and nimas and TTs and everybody, and
Yes.
to just drop some coins into my babies' accounts for their college future. But for our parents and scholars that are listening today and they want more information, they want to talk to you about coaching because they're like, listen, 2024 is around the corner and I want to get my financial life in order to then be able to help my child. How can they reach out to you? And we'll also include your information in our link, but I wanted
Okay.
to share as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They can connect with me at themasterplaybook.com. And then if they want to follow me across social media, I'm everywhere across social media at the Master Playbook.
Perfect. And again, we'll include that description, include the links in the description. And Holly, we just thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Hey there. I hope you were taking notes and you're ready to implement what you heard. If this podcast inspired you or helped you in any way, I would love for you to subscribe, follow, and share this with a student, parent, or educator you care about because sharing is caring. Also, your feedback means a lot. So please leave a written review of this show on Apple Podcasts. And if you ever want to connect outside of the podcast, you can find us at The Scholar Budget on Insta or the Book of Faces. So until next time, shine bright and put in the work so we can make those dreams a reality. Bye!